All right, welcome in everybody as you're joining in to hear about some of our career clusters today, more particularly about engineering and IT at Binghamton University. Give everybody maybe a minute or two. It's a bigger group. Make sure you get some time to log in and hear us. All right, I see the numbers are still coming through. And as it rises, we'll give everybody another maybe minute to get settled and logged in, and we'll get talking about Binghamton University, but in particular about some of our career clusters here for those of you interested in engineering and information technology and so forth. For the meantime, just some housekeeping items. Down at the bottom, the Q&A box is on. So if you have questions throughout, or particularly at the end, you can ask them via the Q&A box, and we'll either try to type back to you or maybe at the end, answer some good live questions. It looks like everything has slowed down a little bit as we got our attendees tuning in. I'll quickly start with an introduction of who we have here today, and I'll give you a Binghamton overview before we get into the depth of what we want to talk about today. So my name is Craig Broccoli. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions for Binghamton University. I'm actually based in the New York City area, and I'm an alum of Binghamton as well. I actually studied in the Watson College of Engineering and then business for graduate school. So the subject matter today I'm particularly interested in. And joining with me today, who you'll hear a lot from, is my colleague over here, Lindsay. If you want to just introduce yourself quickly.
Sure. I'm Lindsay Martland. I'm the Senior Associate Director for Engagement and Operations with the Fleischman Center, and I actually am the Fleischman representative on our engineering and IT cluster.
Great. And then one of our students, you'll hear from towards the end, but James, you want to just say a quick hello?
Yeah, hi guys. My name's James, and right now I'm a junior in Watson College, and later on I'm going to get to share some of the things I've been doing here at Binghamton.
Thanks a lot. All right, I'm going to share my screen now and get everybody in the loop, hopefully, to see what Binghamton is all about, and particularly when we get into what the Watson College of Engineering and our overlap with the Fleischman Career Development Center has to offer. So for any of you this is your first time ever hearing of Binghamton, we are part of the State University of New York, Binghamton University, as we're known as the top public university in New York. And just to put this all into some framework here, we're a mid-size public university. We're an R1 research university, so the highest level of research that you'll be getting into, known to be on that flagship side of the state in the university here in New York. And I'll get into that in just a second, but when you look at the numbers quickly, you'll see 14,000 plus undergraduates. We're big for a mid-sized institution. I mean, we have students at Binghamton University coming in from all over the world, over 100 countries, all 50 states. As a New York top school here, we certainly have some of the best and brightest from even our home state here in New York, and students pursuing degrees from the bachelor's all the way up through the PhD level. So you'll see that whole opportunity there to grow as a student and interact with students at different levels. We have about 4,000 graduate students as well. And when you look at the academic level of incoming students, it is at one of the highest levels you'll see amongst our peer colleges and universities. But one of my favorite things about all of this is if you're admitted to Binghamton and you decide Binghamton's where you want to go, that retention rate, a 92% first year retention rate, means you'll find your fit and you'll find it quickly. A lot of that has to do with our residential life and the community structure. Yes, we're a mid-sized school that's on the bigger side, but we do feel a lot smaller than 14,000 students. Now, Binghamton, as you now know, is known as the top public university in New York, which is a massive state system. The SUNY and the CUNY system added together, there's over 90 public colleges and universities in New York. Binghamton's been at the top spot, frankly, because of our undergraduates and the work that they do and the academic level that they bring in every year. We're known as a public Ivy. What that really means is we're grouped up with a lot of other elite academic institutions trying to give you the highest level academic experience, but at a public school price. With that, comes affordability and the access and the opportunities to do all those great things you want to do that make that impact as quickly as you probably would like to make, whether in your own life, in your career world, or going out there and changing the world, or maybe saving the world that we live in. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to work with a really diverse set of students, as well as an incredibly academically talented cohort that comes together quite collaboratively. Now, I know for a lot of you on the larger level, going away to college or university for that matter is more than just simply getting a degree and then hoping for the best, right? What are you doing to go put into action the stuff that you want to do in the future? How are you learning and how are you applying those skill sets? And that, yes, comes down into the internship and career world. And that's where we're fortunate at Binghamton University to have an award-winning career development center that does a really good job helping you get to that point. So at this point, I want to bring back Lindsay, and we'll get into some of the details here of what a career cluster could be like.
Sure. Thank you so much, Craig. So, you've heard the word career cluster a couple times now during this presentation, and you can see our 7 different career clusters over here on the left-hand side of the screen. What we have found is that academic majors doesn't always equal what career path you go on to. So instead, we chose to adopt this career cluster model. I think everyone here has kind of identified the engineering and IT career cluster as maybe something that you're interested in, or maybe you're looking at just exploring a lot of different ones. So I'm going to focus a little bit on that engineering and IT career cluster today. So the thing to know is that career clusters are going to connect you to the people, information, and resources that help you explore those interests. So career clusters get personalized newsletters into your inbox every week that will show you job and internship opportunities. They'll show you events that are coming up either on campus or virtual events now, especially during COVID, as well as it will highlight different student organizations and resources that you can take advantage of, and even different employers or alumni spotlights. So Craig, if you want to go to the next slide. For the
Sorry.
There we go. For the engineering and IT cluster specifically, these are going to be, if you're interested in some of that software development, engineering, programming, user experience, you can see that there, when you start talking about Binghamton University and maybe what you want to do as you're applying for admissions, some of the most closely aligned majors are going to be that engineering and computer science, which James mentioned belong under the Watson College. But also lots of our students that are in math, statistics, MIS, and then you even see psychology and neuroscience over there. They have some overlapping interests. So again, just because you're picking engineering or you're picking computer science, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you're going to go on for your career, your eventual career. I actually used to work in the Watson College, and I know too that some of our students would get an engineering degree and maybe follow it up with an MBA. So they didn't actually work as an engineer afterwards, but you're getting all the skills and the resources, the soft skills that you need to be successful within that actual career path when you go into it. We have alumni literally all over the country, but also all over the world. They're working in some really top name companies. You can see some there. I think you can recognize them just by their logos without me having to read them off. But you can also see their internship and job opportunities. These are right out of our Binghamton University job portal, which is Hire Bing by Handshake. And so there are a variety of jobs and internships that are posted every single day that our students can go and apply for, and they're very competitive, and our students go on to do really well in them. We also have a job and internship fair each semester where a lot of these companies, when we're in person, actually come to campus. We are doing a virtual job and internship fair this semester where some recruiters from these different companies come to interact with our students in the hopes to put them in either internship or full-time job opportunities following graduation. Next slide, Craig. Thanks. And we mentioned too that the career clusters will connect you with resources. There are a variety of student organizations. I really encourage you to ask questions to James when we turn it over to him to see maybe what student orgs he's involved in, but we have a variety. You can see some of them listed. Some of them are going to be based on what your interest is. So, maybe you're a woman getting into engineering and you want to join SWE. Maybe you really want to work with high school kids and girls who code work with a high school program. But it also takes into consideration what your background might be, right? So you could join Society of National Black Engineers or Hispanic Professional Engineers, things like that. So we have a lot of different student orgs that you can take advantage of. And at our career tools at Binghamton website too, we have everything from platforms you can use within the Fleischman Center to helpful resources and different blog posts. So it's why joining the career clusters is most beneficial to you as you explore what you want to do after your 4 years at Binghamton. We also have a great career outcomes page that you can go to. You can see the websites listed over on the right-hand side. You can literally choose any major. So we just gave an example of the computer engineering. It's going to give you the starting salary for the last 3 years of our graduating seniors, as well as what some of the position titles are or where they go on to further their education, even employers that they go to work for in their first job. And again, you're going to see some of the overlap between that last slide that had all those really well-known companies. You're going to see that our students go there right after graduation as well. So I encourage you to check that out. You can literally pick any different major, whether it's within engineering and IT, or whether you want to look at maybe something else, as you've heard some of these different presentations throughout the week. And we have a little video here with Kieran. So we're going to hit play. It's about 2 minutes long, just to hear some advice from one of our actual Watson College alums.
You should be making a paper trail of comments and concerns and stuff like that. So I would just say, as generic, or as broad, I should say, as like the answer is like, communicate, especially in a tech world where we're not known for communicating well.
I think that's great. Do you feel like the communication skills that you developed as an RA and throughout your time at Binghamton, do you feel like that helped you stand out in interviews?
I think so. I think, like, I know for me, back in my experience starting out in like the boot camp part of Reviture, which was really like the first job I worked out of college,
yeah.
I know that I stood out in that regard because, you know, a lot of standing out, or at least trying to like make your own way through the career and stuff, is about differentiating yourself using your strengths. And like, I know for me, like, I'm not the best programmer for sure. I never have been. I graduated from a ton of help from like my friends. But when you know, it's about differentiating yourself, and like, you could be the best programmer in the world, but if you can't communicate, then, you know, it's going to be a little weird, but also the skills can't tip the other way. So I think for me, it definitely helped me stand out, because I know, like, if I was to go in and say, oh, I'm going to be the best programmer, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm playing against my strengths. So I know, like, starting out for me, coming straight out of the RA role, really only having 2 months between that and like career, a lot of what I ended up doing was like stepping up in more of like a leadership and distribution role of work. So the amount of hard coding that I was doing was dropping, but my organizational skills and communication was the thing that helped our team. But all the organizational skills in the world aren't going to matter if you don't have that guy who's really great at writing code. So I think it did help me. It helped me realize, like, not everyone's going to be the best communicator or the best leader or the best this. Like, you just play to your strengths and be a huge.
Yeah, thanks for playing that for us, Craig. And I encourage you to, so that's part of our All In series, which is our Alumni Live lunch interviews that we do on Instagram. So follow the Fleischman Center on Instagram if you'd like to see more of those. But all of them are also out on our YouTube page. So if you're interested in hearing Kieran's whole presentation, I think it's about 18 minutes. You can go out and find that on our YouTube channel and on our website as well under resources. And we also really want to get our students engaged with alumni at a very early part in your educational journey. So we have lots of opportunities where you can connect with alumni. We do have a mentorship program. It's called Mentor Match. It's all online until there's a point, if you're from the New York City area and you meet up virtually with a mentor from the New York City area, when things are more comfortable and you actually choose to go ahead and meet for coffee or something like that when you're in the city, you would be able to do that. But it is all set up so it can be all virtual. So again, we're trying to connect you with alumni all over the country and even all over the world. We have to take into consideration the time difference there. And you're able to filter Mentor Match by, again, majors, maybe different organizations where our alumni are working. You can even do affinity groups. So again, if you're a woman in in STEM, you can filter that way. If you identify as LGBTQ plus, you can filter that way. So that's a great way to connect with alumni. We partner with the Alumni Office to host student and alumni networking mixers during our City Connect programs. We have alumni come back to campus. Right now we're doing that virtually through our Alumni Career Connections presentation. And you can also find a lot of our alumni right through our LinkedIn page. So when you go out to the Binghamton LinkedIn page, you can again search and sort by a variety of categories, everything from what they studied to where they're working to where they're living. So the Fleischman Center really will help you navigate those waters and figure out how to connect with those alumni as well. So we really encourage students to do that right and start building their network right at the beginning. Our Binghamton alums love to help the current Bearcats, get onto their career journees. I think, is that my last slide? I think
that
Craig?
is,
Yes.
that is. And I think that is an excellent overview of a center that is ever growing at Binghamton and the resources that we can utilize here. And as you could touch in here on, it's the alumni that are active in encouraging some of our undergrads to follow in their footsteps, whatever that might be, or encourage you to blaze your own trails and start your own company in some respects too. There's some insight to be heard from alumni in that department. Now, James, if you're ready, we'd love to hear a little bit more about your storyline here and some of the things that you're going through and the opportunities you've seen so far. I'm actually gonna stop sharing my screen so we could see everybody all at once.
Great. So my name is James. Right now I'm a junior. I'm studying mechanical engineering. I'm also minoring in global studies and classical civilizations, which is a little outside of the career cluster, but it's something I'm passionate about. And I'm from Merrick, New York, so I'm an in-stater. And just to highlight some of the experiences that I've been able to have in the Watson College and at Binghamton, one of those is working at the Fleischman Center. So when I came into college, I didn't even know what a resume was. I went to the Fleischman Center. I met with some of the career consultants, and through learning how to make my resume better, I ended up being able to get the on-campus job of working at the Fleischman Center to help other students to make their resumes better. And that's been great. Another one is the Theta Tau professional engineering fraternity that I'm in. So I'm in the largest fraternity, engineering fraternity in the country, and the brothers at Binghamton really create a great environment for professional development, for academic help, for a social life where you get to be in classes with your friends and people who you know very well. Another one is last year, actually, right when the pandemic hit, I was in Spain studying in Madrid, and it was the first year that they've done it, but through Binghamton, it was a special partnership with a Spanish university where we got to study our engineering courses there. And there are other clubs and stuff, but I think those are probably the most important to me. And those are all things that are pretty specific to Binghamton that I didn't even know about when I accepted and applied to Binghamton, but that now that I'm here and I've been able to have those experiences, I'm really, really grateful for them. And one of the things that I've been able to do through things like the Fleischman Center and through the alumni networks that we have at Binghamton is able to land some pretty great internships. So the summer after my freshman year, I worked at the Port Authority. I was working at JFK Airport, and I was the youngest intern there. It was really, really a great experience, eye-opening, and it's paid because a lot of engineering internships are paid. And I really credit the Fleischman Center with helping me to get there, because if it wasn't for meeting with the career consultants, I wouldn't have known how to make my resume good, how to articulate my skills, how to search for internships. And then even further, the alumni networks at Binghamton, I was able to connect with an alumni working at Arup, which is a construction and design company. And now I'm going to be interning for them over the summer, this summer. And that's just an opportunity that I never even thought that I'd be able to have. But through a lot of the resources at Binghamton, I've been able to find my way there. And it's just been a really great time at Binghamton, especially in the Watson College. I really love my classes and the professors are great. And in the future, I'm planning on staying here for the 4+1 graduate program. So with only one extra year of work, I had to get my graduate degree in mechanical engineering. Yeah, that's kind of a little summary of all the many things that have helped me out.
Yeah, great. Thanks, James. It looks like you are actually I would say in a good way, taking advantage of what Binghamton University has to offer by not just being a Watson College student pursuing an area of interest and considering getting a master's, but leveraging what we can offer from the career development side, but also pursuing other passions outside of your pure major. I think even Kieran, our alum, would have noted that when you get out there in the working world, one of the benefits of Binghamton, besides having the resources to help you find those pathways, is giving students an ability, especially Watson students, engineering students for that matter, to have a wider vantage point of how you can provide and put together your math and science skill sets and that technical based solution mindset now with the ability to communicate that. Employers are looking for students with that. And that really sets up the stage if you're looking to get into some of those leadership roles at organizations. So yes, we have alumni everywhere that are going to be looking for you all as graduates, maybe one day from Binghamton, but then you can walk into those roles and already have a broader understanding, not just the math science best possible solution answer. So it's good to hear that you're doing that as well, James, that you're broadening out on that.
And just another really small thing that
ahead.
reminded me of is through doing I did a lot of interviews with companies for internships, and a lot of those internships would lead to full-time jobs. And something that I've always been told is how unique the engineering education at Binghamton is. I've heard that at other schools, maybe I won't name them, but a lot of schools start design projects really late. But in your freshman year at Binghamton, you take 4 different engineering classes over your first year that involve projects that are perfect for your resume, that are really at a higher level than a lot of other schools doing at that point. So even just being a Watson student puts you at an advantage with those projects and all the skills that you're going to be able to learn even just in your first year. So it's a huge advantage that I had no idea about until I got here.
Yeah, those are little good tidbits to make sure that you all are thinking about.
Yeah.
All right. I see some good questions are rolling in, and you can certainly ask some questions that are very specific to what the Fleischman Career Development Center can offer, and as well as what James is going through. And some of these are good admissions questions. So I'm going to try to type in some of the answers as we go through. But one question just came in that I think maybe Lindsay or James, you could hone in a little bit more about this. And how do engineering internships work at Binghamton? And just maybe a little bit about the process again to give some insight there.
Sure. So I'll start, and then James, if you have anything to add, feel free. We do not require any internships for within any of the majors. And I'm going to just talk about the Watson College just to make it easy there. We don't require any internships, but the Career Center certainly encourage students to take advantage of the internships. We like to see everyone graduate with at least 1, if not 2. So maybe after your sophomore year and after your junior year to have internships. That way it helps enhance your resume when you're looking for full-time opportunities. But you can take advantage of the different career centers and work with our consultants to help you search and find those internships. And again, we have students who are looking for specific areas or for specific companies. We do have a job portal where we house all of our job and internships. I mentioned it earlier, it's Hire Bing by Handshake. You'll have access to that from the day that you step on campus. We can't give you access beforehand. And then you actually have access to that well into your alumni status. You have it for life, basically. So you can go in there and we would teach you how to search for jobs and internships, and you would apply. So again, using your resources within the Fleischman Center to have a really competitive resume to make sure that you're standing out when you apply for those internships.
James, anything you want to share about some of the processes behind the scenes and what you would do as a student and how maybe some of your peers?
Yeah. Well, I think that, if you're not even sure how to begin searching for an internship, that's kind of exactly where the Fleischman Center wants you, because you don't need to know anything coming in. I was taught really everything from career consultants at the Fleischman Center: resume, cover letter, how to search for internships, how to interview. So you don't need anything coming in, and there's a great chance that you can get some really, really interesting internships throughout your experience at Binghamton.
Yeah, and this is where I say to students all the time, we're not the type of institution that's going to guarantee everybody's going to do an internship, because there really is no reason to guarantee it. If you want an internship, which you all should want internships, and in this case, as Lindsay mentioned, multiple internships, is just the approach of you trying out what you might want to do in the future. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to do that at Binghamton, even on campus. You can even start just getting an internship on campus, even if it's unrelated to exactly what you're thinking about doing in the future, just to get some skills developed and professional polish on that in the local area. Plenty of organizations, yes, for our Watson students, and then well beyond that. And as you all saw, connections throughout this world, and that will help you sort of take that necessary stepping stone. The one requirement is you have to have that little bit of an ambition and curiosity, right? If you simply just don't show up to the meetings that we're putting out there and the opportunities, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But I'll say this, one thing I learned, and James, you probably remember this when you first started off at Binghamton, it's incredibly collaborative, especially within the Watson College. So your peer students and even the upperclassmen students are part of that network that you're working with. So you'll notice, oh, so-and-so had an internship at that organization or this organization. How'd you get it? Oh, I went to the Fleischman Career Development Center. That's how a lot of this conversation starts and works at Binghamton. So I just wanted to highlight some of those other thoughts that were coming in. Some of these general questions are coming in about the engineering program in general. And I will say there are going to be a lot of sessions coming up this spring that are going to go into the depths of how the Watson College of Engineering works and our different majors. So things to be on the lookout, especially one for our admitted students, and then yes, for prospective students in the future about how to navigate all that. So in terms of generally speaking, picking majors and all of that, the Watson College of Engineering, there's 5 engineering majors. You decide which engineering major you want, and then probably the internships that align with that during your first year, but into your second year. So there's some good time to really explore the different engineering majors, with the exception of computer science that does start off early on the CS track. And there is some switching between these different programs. So don't feel like you're just trapped based on what you decided on right away. There's some flexibility. And frankly, that's why I always encourage, start those internships as early as you can. See that exposure. If you realize, wait a second, I'm not really interested in that field, it might mean there's a major shift that you might want to consider. Or it might just simply mean you approach the field of engineering in a different way. And that there's plenty of time for that, but the earlier you do that, the better.
And Craig, can I say something too? Yes. I do want to just reiterate too that we have a job and internship fair every semester. We have typically 130 to 150 different employers who come to those fairs. So there are opportunities to find those internships on campus. And James also mentioned it, that the one great thing too about the Watson College and the way that the engineering curriculum is set up is you're getting hands-on experience from your first semester. So in the fall semester, you're going to do freshman design program. And those are things that can go on your resume because you're actually doing hands-on marketable skills. So we're already setting our students up from the very first semester to be ready to compete for those jobs and internships.
Perfect. Yeah, this is, I get excited for students when they start to understand how this will work in the long run. When I know the stress now is like, will I get a job? And I want to preface this. Everyone wants to know, what's the placement rate? How many students land a spot at the company they interned at? This is one of those areas where I say statistics will not help you at all, right? What matters is you as an individual in this case, and then also working with our career counselors and again, your fellow classmates. What I mean by this is very likely if you're doing a good job at the internship you're at, not only will it probably be a good pipeline for that organization for when you do graduate, they already know who you are. You basically did an interview with them for a length of time, but that's also a professional network that you're a part of. So it might be with affiliate organizations. And this is how this tends to work when you get to that next level, what we call the real world. The internships are just giving you the true exposure there. Now, at Binghamton, as you can see from James, we have incredibly talented academic students who understand the true value of being at a university where they're really adding in a lot of different academic aspects to their field. So some of our students, in fact, it depends on the year, but it could be upwards of 50% of our students decide, you know what, I'm sticking on for a master's degree first. And that's because it fit their overarching trajectory. They have the opportunity to do that at Binghamton. Lindsay, I know you mentioned this, but a lot of Watson students might decide, hey, I want to get an MBA, something that I considered when I was graduating. I took the internship I had and then used that to, and James, yeah, I know you got class. head out and use that to not only say, yes, maybe I'll come back to that job in the future, but I'm going to go to get a master's degree in something different, open up a whole nother level. And so there's different tiers and ways to approach that. The benefit you have now is you got time to really explore. And at Binghamton, you don't have to make any of those decisions until typically your junior year. So plenty of time to even do an internship or two before you decide, hey, do I want to get a master's or not? So just time to think about all that. I'm going to scroll through some of these questions. I'm going to read out and give a quick answer. They're more admission specific, but Lindsay, if you don't mind, if there's one that might work on your realm, we'll get those covered. So before we close out for the day, a quick question came in twice though. What's the difference between programming and software development? At Binghamton, there is not a difference. We actually consider them pretty much the same. Those are career paths through the computer science degree. So that would be where you would start off with, and you'll take different coursework. Your internships actually title-wise change, whether you're going to be a programmer in the future or a software engineer for that matter. That's just the nomenclature of the profession. And how many students end up getting a job within the company they interned at? This will vary, every year it's going to change. And Lindsay, unless you have anything particularly.
No, and unfortunately, that's just not a number that we capture. But again, I would encourage you to go out to that career outcomes website and check that out. It's also going to help with the previous question that Craig just talked about. So if you're interested in software development versus programming, you can go out there and you can see which majors went on to do that after graduation. But you can also kind of do a comparison of where did students do internships in an aggregate form, and then where did they go on to be employed full time to kind of know, how those options kind of work.
Yes, and I always encourage you to keep exploring now, and don't get stuck on a number itself. Think about the big picture in the long run too. A question came through: how many students are admitted to engineering versus say Harper every year? Our admissions rates fall between, typically, we have 6 colleges, somewhere between 20% and 40%, generally speaking, and they vary every year. What we're looking at is a selective admissions process, but in the engineering and including computer science, our Watson College, it's probably representative of about 10% of our entire size of our campus, of our undergraduates. So it's a smaller track, but not the smallest track. Your job right now as a student, it was a good question, is find the programs that you're most interested in and apply towards that. All right. And then we'll figure that out. And we'll certainly work with our undergraduates on what those other pathways could look like. Now, in the world of, a question came in, business analytics, this is something that you can, business analytics and data analytics, to expand upon that, overlaps the world of business. The School of Management at Binghamton covers that. And that's a growth area for sure, as well as even our math and our financial economics students, as well as, of course, the Watson College. So there's multiple ways to approach that. I would say what excites you most on the academic level, start with that. And then the career side, the internship side, will help steer you in that direction. All right. And yes, you can apply to engineering if you're unsure, generally speaking. And during that first year, you actually have time to figure that out. And when we look for our students, there's not a huge difference between looking at an engineering applicant versus, say, an anthropology applicant, or somebody who's interested in English or math or accounting. We look at all students in the same light, in the sense we want you to succeed at Binghamton. James gave you a good insight there. You're going to be taking courses outside of your specific major, probably because you really want to as well. So we're looking for a student who can handle that academic diversity. But yes, within the Watson College of Engineering, having a strong math and science background, wherever you're coming from, is important. Those are things we'll lean on. All right. And I know we had a half-hour session. We're a little over. Just want to make sure we get some of these bigger questions covered. Now, the class sizes. This is a question that comes up all the time. How large are the classes for first and second year students? They will vary dramatically no matter what your major is. Though the core classes within a specific discipline tends to stay within the same cohort year after year. So your major students within that certain major, that will probably be about the same size throughout, with these other classes added in. But Math classes tend to be capped at around 30 or so students. Lab courses, which are going to be popular for engineering and computer science students, they're going to be about 30 students as well. It's just the size of the lab. So you're going to have some variety mixed in there, but there are going to be smaller subsets to those classes. All right, I think we touched on all of the big particular questions that came in. I'm going to throw in the chat area where you'll be able to see it. I'm going to put my email in there. We will be doing other sessions, not specific to the career side, but to the academic side. So some of these questions will be well suited for that all throughout the spring term. So check out the visit page for Binghamton, visit.binghamton.edu. And you'll see a lot more to sign up for specific to maybe some of your core interests. Any last advice, Lindsay, before we close out?
Don't get hung up on your major and trying to translate that into your career. I think we've touched on that a couple times. Find where your interest is and where your passion is, and find the major that fits that, and the career will come. And then when you get to campus, come utilize us. We'll get you pointed in the direction that you need that you want to be in, and the resources available to you.
Yeah, don't sleep on that. That's something that you want to make sure that you're tapping into. That big job and internship fair, whether there's virtual components or in-person components or different aspects of that, just show up, get experience with it, get prepared for it, but start as early as you can, and listen to the advice that even the upper class students are going to be giving you all. So use that for momentum there. All right, good luck, everybody. Certainly tune in. Let me know if you have any questions. You could send me an email there. And take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.